Hello again from my front porch. It is it's a bright and snowy day here in Iowa over the weekend. We got a couple of rounds of snow that went through, but especially Saturday night, we really, it came and it stayed. Here in Des Moines, we got about 4 inches-ish. But a heavy, wet, big, massive snowflakes. But the roads now are mostly clear. It's cold enough that stuff isn't melting though today. It's kind of an icy layer, but at least the pavement itself is bare. But all the ground that was nice and greenish brown is all white again. As I've said before, it's pretty to look at as long as I don't have to interact with it. Unfortunately, I will be interacting with it a little bit today. I'm going to the airport. I'm heading off for another trip, this time to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. People say, oh, it must be exciting to get to go to all those places to see all this stuff. I mean, it's fun to get out of town, I guess. But I tend to see the inside of airplanes and airports and rental cars and hotels and offices, and I don't get a whole lot of sightseeing time. I do try to work in some where I can. Generally, the way I work in doing a little something is like a dinner or something like that. I try to find or have, if I have local individuals, I try to get guidance, advice on some local places that we would not have here in Des Moines, and enjoy some stuff like that. But I have mixed feelings. On one hand, yes, I am excited to get away from the snow and to get to a place that's in the 50s and 60s today. That's good stuff. But I'm not relishing the whole travel experience. And I hate to say it this way, but I miss a little bit of COVID. Not COVID itself, and I'm not trying to make light of the pain and suffering that was around that, and just the hardships it created. At the time, I felt like we were overreacting, and evidence seems to continue now to come out to validate that. And people say, well, they just didn't know. Oh, I think they knew. I think they knew more than they were letting on. I think there were some people power tripping that were exploiting the pandemic for other reasons. But this isn't a conspiracy show, and so I'm not going to go there. But I'll be happy to chat with you if you'd like to discuss that more. But I still traveled some during COVID. Not all of it. I mean, there were parts where even my company said, nope, no travel, and we shut everything down for several months at a time. But then we would get to travel for legitimate business purpose. And, I tell you, it was a very different experience. Very different experience. I mean, the planes were obviously not filled every seat, but in the airports, there was a lot more space, a lot less crowding. But even not just the physical space, the personal space things, people were just more respectful, or if not respectful, they were just more aware. They were more conscious of others around them. Now, that may have been driven out of a personal desire on their part to be protected. I want to keep my distance from you because I'm afraid you may be trying to poison me with this deadly disease. It could be that we had regulations in place, that we had laws and rules and guidelines that forced people to have to appear to be respectful. I would really hate to believe that that's the case because I'm a positive, upbeat, nice guy, and I would like to think that most people, not all, there are some who are just jerks, but most people, if left to themselves and left to fend for themselves and make up their life rules for themselves, would be good people, would be considerate of others around them, would be nice. But I tell you, that belief is really being put to the test as I travel now. Because, all anyone could talk about during COVID was, I can't wait till things get back to normal. Well, to some extent, we are back to normal. There are some changes that have continued on that are not necessarily such a bad thing. Like Lisa and I were joking about, we were at a restaurant not long ago where they had this big sign that's still up that was bragging about how they wipe down, they're now wiping down their tables and using this certain cleaner, and everything's clean, and how we'd never noticed them having these kind of signs up before, there or anywhere else for that matter. But obviously it was there because they're trying to say, look, you're not gonna pick up contact germs here, the COVID or anything else. You're gonna because we're wiping this on that. And we joked about how sad it is that it took a global pandemic for establishments like that to take that kind of cleaning seriously. And it's kind of sad. And now that we're back to normal, I do kind of wonder, even places like that had that big sign up. Gotta go back and I wonder how long that sign's going to be up, and if they are actually following through still with what even that sign claimed they were doing. I know that in my travel experience, people are very selfish, very self-centered, very rude, very pushy, crowding. They're pushing their way. Now, I also blame the airports, like Des Moines Airport, airport in Charlotte, North Carolina, others that are what I would consider more of the small to medium-sized airport, but now they are working with the airlines, bringing in these bigger airplanes than were envisioned when the airport was built. And the proof of that is the waiting areas. When you've got all the people who are supposed to be waiting to get on a plane in the waiting area, and the waiting area is not big enough to accommodate even half of those people, the only place for them to stand is out in the main walkway that everybody else is trying to transverse to get up and down the terminal to their gates. And if the gates on both sides are like this, which I have now experienced, then those crowds come out and there's little narrow passageways, and you have to, it's almost like pinballing your way through. And you have people trying to get both ways, and they're blocked, but the people standing there waiting for their planes, they don't care. It's not like, oh, I'm sorry, here, let me squish over here a little bit out of the way. No, they don't care because we've gone back to the normal approach of us ignoring that kind of stuff, of us just being selfish and only worrying about ourselves. And I see that even driving. During COVID, when I would go out, I'd go to Lisa's house or just anywhere, go driving. Obviously, there weren't as many cars on the road because people were, sheltering in and they were staying home. And, the governor of Iowa got criticized because she didn't shut down the state. Well, I tell you, I traveled to a lot of different states that were shut down, and things were about the same here in Iowa as they were in all those other places. So the things that the state was doing was pretty much the same thing. We can badmouth all we want, but I'm telling you, I saw firsthand that the actual interactions of people were very much the same in Iowa as everywhere else. And when I would just be out driving on the streets and out on the interstate through town and stuff, obviously there were fewer cars, but people just seemed generally more alert, more aware. And now we've gone back to, I don't care about you. I'm trying to get where I'm going. I never saw any of that during the COVID period. Now again, I don't miss COVID itself, the disease. And frankly, I shouldn't say I don't miss it because it's not gone. It's still with us. Just yesterday, I saw a friend post online that they had, that they're a musician person, that they had to cancel some shows. I guess it wasn't yesterday, it was the end of last week because it's for this last weekend. But they had to cancel some shows because they were tested positive for COVID. And so it's still with us. It's still here. But we act like it's not. And we've gone back to just being our selfish, self-absorbed, rude selves. Apparently, getting back to normal wasn't necessarily such a good thing in all respects. But anyway, I'm still going to be traveling, but it just kind of saddens my heart just a bit when I now, because I've seen humanity respond in a positive way. Remember, I said I was traveling during COVID. I saw how respectful travelers could be of each other. I saw how respectful people were of each other's space. I saw how respectful people were of oh no, please, you go ahead. No, yeah, all this kind of stuff. It was like everybody was from the Midwest. But now even the Midwesterners are not from the Midwest. They all act like New Yorkers. It is a little disheartening to see people revert to being that kind of person after we have demonstrated we can do better. I hate to be the person who believes that we have to have mandates and rules and guidelines in order to be good people. I really don't want to be that person. But my goodness, there are just a lot of people right now that are dead set determined to change my mind. They haven't succeeded yet, but wow. Well, hopefully after this trip, I will have a better report to tell. I'll be able to tell you about how wonderful everything was and how positive it all was. I don't know. I would be pleased to be able to tell you that. But I guess for each of us, it's just maybe a good check for each of us to stop and think, just because we're back to normal doesn't mean you need to go all the way back. You can still, some of the positive attributes that all of us improved on and displayed better during that time when we really did have to be conscious and cognizant of everybody and everything around us. Nothing wrong with carrying some of that through to today, to still hold on to some of that. Instead of going all the way back to normal, let's redefine today's normal to incorporate some of that good stuff that did come out of a stressful period. Well, I got to finish getting my stuff ready for my trip. And so with that, I'll see y'all next time from my front porch.